Peace. This is the Ask Your Oldhead podcast with Justice Raji. I'm here with my guest, Brentin Mock.
Yes.
Peace. I asked
the
you
former J. Cobb, but yes.
I asked you with the catches. I'm used to addressing you as B, or you know what I mean, not your full name.
B Mock. People still call me B Mock. So
I know, but I wondered if somebody goes to the Google and they, they look
fair
at
point.
B,
SEO.
Mock, they might find any other number of people. Not you.
A lot better B Mocks out there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they're better. They just be Mocks.
I know. I'm joking. Yeah.
Indeed. Well, thank you for joining me.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I'm flattered.
So to get us started, anyone that you just want to give reverence, respect, thanks to, or props to on the air before we get rolling?
Just always want to take advantage of the opportunity to give props to my father. Props to my dad, who's been there for me my whole life. So can't give him props enough. Yeah.
Cool. So I'm going into the first question. So can you share with me just a standard or a principle, something that you apply to your life that you think is important to how you move through the world as a man?
I can say that. One principle that I picked up over the last, I want to say 5 years, that I had to actually practice myself into was trying to achieve having balance between work life and family life for the most part. A little bit of me life in there, not really, but definitely like work and family. And this was something that, I was really bad at throughout my career as a journalist. People kind of talk about work-life balance, and I think it's a buzzword for a lot of people. Because it's really hard to really discipline your schedule in a way that like you're definitely like giving as much time as you can to both of the all of the parties that you're accountable to, but without kind of like short shrifting one. I was the kind of person who I really worked at like almost a suicidal rate, like working late at night to, getting up very early in the morning and not really having a lot of time and bandwidth and energy to do nothing with family after that. And, I just had to recognize that like this isn't really sustainable, especially if you want to keep a family.
Yeah.
I've been like actively practicing my way into just kind of really making sure I'm carving out time for everything.
Is there any particular or even just one technique you could share about like keeping that balance, something that you do when you're, some part of that, just a little piece?
Yeah. One is, thank God for these devices and where, our calendar apps and all of that, where you can like really plan, you could just kind of really be organized when you're planning, but also like now, like it's really ingrained in me that like if somebody invites me somewhere, whether that's like a party tonight or invite me to come visit your city 6 months from now or whatever, like I check in with the family. Right. Is it okay if I do this? Like, do we, I try to figure out like what I'm missing if I did do it, kind of like what you and I were talking about earlier before this, but like, and that probably seems like a real common sense thing to do, but I didn't used to do that. Yeah. Like if somebody invited me somewhere, I'm like, yeah, I'm there. Yeah. Or if, committing to a project or a work project, without like really sitting down and thinking like, okay, like how is this going to affect my time over this period? Am I going to have time to take my son to basketball games? Am I going to be able to go with my wife to wherever she needs me to go to? Like if I don't think about any of that, then it just, it won't happen.
Right. And you can ask me, let me know if this is accurate, because I was in a conversation, I guess earlier this week with someone just around like journalism, or like when an article or some sort is written, a part of a project or what have you, that, and you can let me know, because I think this ties in there, that a part of getting to whatever story that you write is a collecting and kind of organizing the data and your sources and who you talk to and when. And that seems like something that could be hard to pin to a 9-to-5 schedule. You know what I mean? In terms of
there's no 9 to 5. There's still no 9 to 5 schedule.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because if you need to talk to somebody, you may not you got to talk to them when you can get them.
Yeah.
Times, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and I still try to control for that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, some people, they're not available for an interview until the evening. Yeah. Sometimes they can't talk until over the weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm very judicious about even that. Because I do a hard close of my computer. My computer shuts off at 6. You send me an email, whatever. Like if it's not going to like my personal email that like goes to my watch, like I don't even know how to check my work email account on some of my devices, and that's on purpose because I'm trying to guard time, But if it's a really important story or you're a very hard to reach person, like I ain't gonna tell Oprah like we gotta talk before 6 or too bad,
Sorry.
It's But not to say that like if you're not Oprah, sucks to be you, but right. But I still kind of just gotta evaluate. What my deadline is, like, is it an interview that could wait till the following morning or till Monday or, and it also requires me like getting as much done as possible between a certain set of hours, right. So that I can protect that time. Yeah.
That's right. So, second question.
Yeah.
Because I think we probably will reach back. Relationships broadly defined. Is there something that you do differently, or there's something that you've learned that you do differently now than you may have done as a younger man at other times in your life?
Like for the better or for the worse?
Let's go for the better.
Well, I mean, all this stuff is subjective. I mean, I've learned to set boundaries better in relationships. Particularly, I'm talking about like friend relationships.
Yeah.
Let me put my wife to the side for a minute. No boundaries with my wife, but like with friends, I don't know. I mean, I was a dude who, like you were talking about with your family and friends back in New Jersey. I got family and friends back in Harrisburg, that I grew up with since a pup. And, I had a very, no boundaries relationship with a lot of them, so I took them with all the good and all the bad, because that's what friends do, but, that one that could take a toll on you or it took a toll on me, just kind of absorbing and trying to be there for everyone as much as possible, can be a little taxing, and that is the tax on a relationship, right? That's what you accept. But, as your responsibilities, expand, it's just, trying to learn how to set up boundaries such that, like, my friends know they could come to me for certain things, but if it's something, how do I say this without incriminating people on the podcast?
I would say,
if it's
let me try. You let me know if I land a plane. If being supportive for you would expose me to risks that could take me away from my family,
or even expose my family
to risk, then I might not be able to assist you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that serious for every case, but, some of them it is. And in others, it's like, in others, it's like, it's also me trying to kind of guard my mind, like if I got a lot of male friends that are single, and they think and talk like men who are single, a lot of them who, and there's nothing wrong necessarily with that, but when you're married, there's only so much male single energy you can absorb without it starting to feel a little, you don't want to, you're married, so
yeah, I understand.
So you just kind of gotta set up boundaries, be like, yo, okay, I understand, but like that ain't something that I want to talk about. So,
yeah, I don't want to go there with you right now.
Yeah,
like,
so and for better or worse, for some friends, I think. And I'll talk with my male friends particularly. I think with a lot of them, it made our relationship healthier.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, like, they only wanted to be friends if
you could
if I come in the mud with them. So,
yeah, you could be a party to the shenanigans.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't. I'm not. That's not something I could just shrug off. I have. Your friends are your friends, but it's.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, I think
pain decisions.
That's the. I would say the reality of figuring out what's important to you, and that the people that you may have known for most of your life, who you and you love and you care about,
right
over there. When you realize, like, you feel that tension of like, I don't really want to go be with y'all right now. Not like in a mad way. I just want to be someplace else.
Yeah.
And then you tell, somebody got like, hey man, now I'm going to take a pass on this one.
Yeah.
And when you're younger, you may be fearful that you're not holding up the relationship by always being available.
Right.
And then you realize, like, no, actually, sometimes I was like, nah, I'm not coming outside. Y'all cool. Y'all go ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean? That's peace, man.
Yeah.
Is there...
Nobody wants to be Sharif and, what is it, Menace to Society?
Oh, yeah.
Let me out the car.
Okay.
I forget his name, but yeah.
The
Muslim dude, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Sharif, they did that too in Menace to Society, didn't they? I thought about that.
Or Boys in the Hood. Maybe it was
Boys in the
both
Hood, they let... what's name gets out the car, Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character.
Yeah,
but Sharif did something too. Or wait, Sharif.
He either got kicked out the car or he got out the car.
Yeah.
But he knew he didn't want to be.
Yeah.
With around the.
But Sharif got shot at the end of Menace though, didn't he?
He did get shot.
Man, that's messed up.
I'm blending all.
That's okay. That's a sad ending, man. That was a rough ending. I just recently watched Boys in the Hood with my son because he, I thought about it. I was like, you never really watched it, so let me put it on. He enjoyed it, and we had a good rousing conversation about various parts of that, from miniature points like when the individual that was addicted to crack tried to steal the chain, and they lumped him up, and he was like, why would he do that? I was like, well, son, that's what drugs do when you're in addiction.
Yeah,
this seems like you could get away.
Do something.
You might like, I could get away with this. It's like, a rational mind would say you can't do this, but a drug addicted mind might go,
you might get away with this.
I got a chance. You know what I'm saying? And then
when there's no chance.
But other parts of it, he just around like decision making and like the the violence and things in the movie. We had a good conversation. Which it's with him being 80 years now is different than when he was a kid, so it's been kind of cool.
Okay.
So third question.
Okay.
What's just really important to you right now in your world?
What's really important to me is being an example to my son. Just making sure that he at least sees and can experience, like, his father working, which is something that I did with my father sometimes. And so, like now, like, drag him to one of my interviews or meetings or something, he don't want to be there, but like, I didn't want to be there when my dad was dragging me, whatever. And I kind of appreciate these things now that I'm older. But yeah, I think it's just really, I hated this word when I was growing up, role model. It's still not my favorite word, but like, I feel like I got to be that for my son at the very least. And, like, doing that requires me just kind of, it really causes you to modify your behavior. A lot of things that come natural to you, which might not be the most civilized way to respond to things, like, got to monitor, readjust my my settings, but in a good way, you know.
Yeah.
Like I think it, you know, just makes you a better person, you know.
Yeah, I think
In theory, yeah.
so something that happened earlier this year, I was doing I taught this class online. Well, not online, the class was in a room, but at the party to teaching the class, I got asked to do like a talk at a company. And I was like, you know, I'm gonna bring my son, you know, come just be there with me and also, you know, kind of go into this company and see like the way that they operate and see their space. And because I think it's important that, you know, your children, if possible, to see whatever their parental units, you know, both of them do. Like, where are they when they're not with us?
Yeah.
You know, what are they doing? What is, how are they present in the world? Because, you know, you can like describe and they can have an idea of what it is you do. And I mean, especially what you do as a journalist, where it's like, well, I know he goes to these meetings and he's on his computer and he's typing stuff. You know what I mean? I don't know exactly what he's doing though, like, or how much time and energy goes into that. You know, but seeing the way my kids respond to other people responding to me and my wife as we like, you know, are doing whatever things we're doing in the community of the world. Yeah. It's like, it's always sort of like I become aware of something every time. They're like, well, why is that person talking to you? You know, like the question is like, you guys know everybody. And we're like, well, we don't know everybody, but we know a fair amount of people because we're, you know, out here. But I don't know. Right. It seems like everywhere we go, somebody knows you. And I'm like, all right. I mean, you know, I suppose it might also be, you know, biased by where I go. I may only go where you know people. But just that sort of dynamic, though, that then if they think of you in one way, now they have a more expanded view of like, okay, that's what my dad does. That's what my father, he's like, you know, wow, that guy really likes my father. Like that kind of deal. Like, I think that's important. Do you think, is there anything that you really would like to, you know, make sure that your son sees from either at your work or something that you'd like to do work on? Not to spill your hand too much here. I don't want to mess up. You got some irons in the fire, but just to make, you know, that you think is important to you that he sees you working on any like topics or subjects of that nature. Just
seeing me work. I mean, whether that's me sitting on a computer, or 98% of the time, that's what it is. But knowing that like I'm working and not just like on there playing a game or something like that, you know. And he's 15, you know, he's gonna play games. Yeah. But, you know, at a certain point, you're going to have to figure out all the other useful properties of the computer and the iPhone, the iPad. And, again, I just want to model behavior, you know. And, I mean, in socializing, too, which is becoming a more important thing for me to try to model because, you know, we like our children are living in a milieu where communication methods are a lot different than how you and I communicated with people when we were 15, right? And I don't know that their language that well. I'm not on Snapchat, and I have maybe a elementary level understanding of how to use emojis on text, but you know, but this is like the currency of communication with them, and so. For all I know, when they get older, that might be the only way that people communicate is through emojis and Snapchat. But I want to be able to model, I don't want to say more normal socializing kind of methods, but I noticed that like a lot of kids, because they're so enmeshed in what's on their screen, they're oftentimes like very normal, or dare I say traditional ways of communicating with other men often aren't present, you know. So looking a person straight in their eyes, you know, answering questions in complete sentences. I can't even say that I was the best at this when I was 15, you know. But again, as I got older, I had to think about the men who raised me and how they communicated, you know, in a very straightforward way. I'm not trying to like reinforce like no old patriarchal, you know, traditional whatever masculine forms or norms of what's considered being a man, but being able to communicate in like some kind of universal way where like we can talk regardless of gender, generation, age, you know. So me being out in public and talking to another man, looking him in the eye, enunciating, again, talking complete sentences. I mean, for whatever reason, like this is a form of communication and socialization I feel like I have to model for my son, because, you know, either because he's young or because their generation just communicates differently. Yeah. I just feel like that needs to be there.
Yeah, I think the maintenance of, you know, there's a way you can be present for someone or you know, seeing you be gracious, you know, when somebody comes maybe give you a compliment, right? Yeah. And seeing like the way that you take that, seeing the way when you need to get information and it's really critical that you maybe get someone's attention while showing them like respect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of stuff that can be lost in the digital age where it's like, you know, I sent them some messages and I typed on it and I went on Facebook, which I never go on Facebook, and I went on Facebook, I went on like, you know what I'm saying? I went to the 2 other social networks that they don't use that much and I don't care for to try to get their attention. And it's like, well, maybe they just needed to hear maybe you needed to call so they could hear your voice and they could understand how urgent it was for you to get this information, like those sorts of sensibilities. Because that's something I find myself, you know, sometimes being concerned, you know, with my son and my daughter and like letting them know like it's cool to use the tools that y'all use and the way you and your peers interact. Right. But I also don't want you to miss out on stuff because you didn't do something that might appear outside your bubble. You know what I mean? That like, right. Yeah, the other people you need to talk to, they might be waiting for that phone call. Right. You know what I mean? So, word up.
I think that also another side effect of people, and I'm not just gonna say young people, but just people today, like, you know, because we become so like glued to screens that it becomes easier to ignore people who are already the most ignored, you know, like homeless people or even like, you know, people of color. You could walk the streets and just not ever see these people. And so I'm trying to model out of that, you know, like just being able to see people, especially those who are used to not being seen, and like speak to them and, you know, compliment them, all, you know, just, I don't know. These could be like old romantic notions of like communicating and, you know, how you interact with people in the streets. But I think there's a lot of value in that that I'm trying to preserve.
Yeah. Well, I think that those that are adept at balancing that in our future will be able to make certain moves, because I it's an old language, but I don't think it's a language that's going anywhere. Like humans are social entities. We exist in groups. Yeah, and I don't think any level of at least any level of technological advancement that I've seen will totally remove sort of the value of somebody like, man, I really like hanging out with that person. Yeah. They made me feel really warm when I was sitting with them. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't think that gets old. I think that's always.
And there's probably an emoji for that, but it doesn't feel as good as just somebody just saying that.
Heard that.
You know?
Heard that, indeed. Cool. That's the root core of my piece that I like to do.
Oh, I got that.
I would say, the thing I would probably want to just ask you, we can do this as a close, because I think what I would like to do is maybe sometime in the future, have a discussion with you, maybe more in depth about sort of the work you do in terms of journalism, and where I would have more time to like prepare a conversation that's more specific about that. And I think you have a level of experience in depth in that world that I wouldn't want to try to do it in 10 minutes. And I mean, that's how I feel. I mean,
it's all good.
Word up. So I'll lay this out for you. You want to do something to take us out with a little more lightheartedness, something.
It is funny you ask me this. One sec. So I just drove back from DC. That's usually my podcast time, but every once in a while I like throw on a album, or streaming album or whatever. And one of the podcasts that I was listening to, they were talking about Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, because I guess this is the 20th anniversary of that album, which means we're officially old AF. But they were, they were talking about that album. Caused me to, but actually, let me fast forward. So they were talking about miseducation, but you can't talk about miseducation without talking about the MTV Unplugged Lauryn Hill album that came out years after that, and so they were talking about it, and they were the podcast people, and they were giving it kind of like a renewed perspective, or even like a respect for the album that I think the album did not get many years ago. And so I remember in college, or was I in college, or maybe I graduated by then, but I remember when it came out, for whatever reason, I really enjoyed that Unplugged album. Like I thought Lauryn was just speaking all kinds of truths that needed to be heard, and like I was like impressed that she had learned how to play the guitar, or at least kind of learned how to play the guitar. So I just thought it was a dope album. I mean, I don't think a lot of other people thought it was a dope album back then. I remember it getting a lot of bad reviews. But anyway, after listening to that podcast, driving back from DC, I'm like, all right, I'm going to listen to this Unplugged album again, because it's probably been at least 10, 15 years since I listened to it. And I was listening to it, and I was like, no, I was tripping. Like, this is bad.
This
like,
is not what you remember.
She's definitely telling some truths, and I could feel her. But this guitar playing is bad. Every song sounds the same. Like, I don't know. I was like, I could have swore I was able to decipher every lyric back then. I had no idea what she was talking about in like 80% of the songs. And then I felt bad because I was like, wow, like, am I fronting on Lauryn Hill? I used to love this, like, what happened? And I don't know. Like, the people in the podcast, they had found a new love for it, and I couldn't hear it. Yeah. So I don't, maybe it's a bad example, but
no, I don't think it's a bad thing. Like, I've had to come to a realization about Nas that I like Illmatic and I like the second album, but there's a whole lot of other stuff. Yeah, there's a whole lot of other stuff that I realize I don't really try to catch up on all them other records.
Did you listen to Nasir?
Nah, really.
The Kanye one? Oh.
Nah, I ain't listen to that at all. Yeah, that's at some point I'll get to it. But but part of me doesn't. But part of what I'm saying is I have an itch about who I think he is that makes me uncomfortable assigning a lot of high-minded thinking to what he says in raps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I've been challenged about who I think he is as a person. That makes me kind of go, I mean, you might be
because of the Khalid stuff? Or?
Well, actually before the Khalid stuff. I realized I've had just sort of you kind of talk like you know what you're talking about, but I don't know if you really know what you're talking about. And so I realized I distanced myself, and the reason I've had to go, maybe I don't like you as much. I like Illmatic, because I know what that is, and that sits with me in a certain place in my own who I was.
Yeah.
But there's other stuff where I'm like, I don't know. And even Lauren's I like you, Lauren, but I'm struggling.
I
baby.
like Miseducation.
I like Miseducation, and there's a whole lot of other stuff. I'm like, it's cool. Take the best part. I'm not.
Yeah.
So I think that's all right. I think that's what is it? Whoever. I mean, some people say don't meet your heroes. And I didn't meet either one of these people, but also I think it's just the thing of you realize that maybe you like certain parts of something that people did, and you don't like everything. And I think that's okay. Yeah,
I'm a little bit there with Nas.
Yeah.
I still have a lot of disillusionment about Nas, but if I'm honest with myself, I haven't enjoyed an album from him in a very long time.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, and like
I
I
like
said,
life is good, but
yeah, indeed, and also just for the record, not dismissing the police situations as in any way unbounded. That actually bolsters my discomfort.
yeah,
Like it kind of goes like, okay, like you that dude too.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And so yeah, I mean, that's life.
yeah.
As it goes. Word up. So we get into a closure point for our conversation. Anything you want to just add for the good of the order, good of the universe?
Oh man. I there's not one thought that I could download that quickly. I mean, nah. I love the podcast thing. Like I listen to them a lot.
All right.
I think that and then I'll be like, I could do a podcast, but then like I know I can't really do a podcast. Like I'm not nice with the audio equipment. I'm not in love with my voice. So like,
okay. Well, I would say this, like a lot of things, I'll put it like this: as an associate mind would find entertaining. Due to the way music works, we can all put an album of some sort out there.
Mm-hmm.
The technology and the equipment is available, and the delivery means it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good thing.
Right.
Exactly. So I encourage, because I believe as a device and as a media lane, there's a place for it, and there's a place for different types of podcasts from the very highly structured and edited and like, man, it's almost like a radio documentary.
Yeah.
Like there's that to the almost kind of day-to-day blog type where somebody just gets up, says something for 20 minutes every day, and they're like, podcast, boom, listen to that.
Yeah.
Right? There's that wide swath of options. Within that, though, and the thing I've learned in the time I've put into this is that it's a lot harder to put out something that's close to hopefully what you're intending, and that your hope has the value that you want. So I encourage you, if you really feel like you got something you want to put on tape, to go for it.
I may
but
just
also
stay in my lane with the keyboard,
keep it going.
let the people who are the masters at podcasting do,
Word out.
Keep doing that.
All right. Well.
Yeah, but I appreciate being on your podcast. So,
I thank you for joining me. B Mock, as I know you, Brentin Mock. Is there anything, like, should I tell people where they can find you on the internet or search for you or anything on social media? I mean,
I write for citylab.com, CITYLAB.com. Got to make that distinction because somebody thought I was saying shitty lab once. So I don't want people on the shitty lab.
Yeah, don't do that.
But City Lab, that's where you can find my stuff.
All right. Brentin, thank you.
Thank you, man.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, and, same here.
This has been the Ask Your Oldhead podcast with Justice Raji. Peace.